What is good, NBA family? Happy Wednesday. It is your boy Randall Gimm here with Nuts and Bolts Sports, and this is the Association Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us here. We'll be here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I got some gentlemen from the Eastern Coast, my boss, the man, the CEO, the founder of this beautiful sports media outlet, the one and only Joe Cardoso. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, what's going on, Randall? I'm good, man. Happy to be on.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, for sure.
Man, we're going to talk a little bit of Wizards later on. You got any quick takes on that?
I mean, people doubted us, and look where we're at right now. But it's early though. It's early in the season. I can't get too excited.
Yeah, I got too excited, and now look at where we're at now.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, and then we got Jeffrey Worldwide. Jeffrey, are you feeling too excited about your Bucks right now?
Well, not too excited so far, but you know what, Chris? As the fans say, season doesn't start till Christmas. So as long as we're in the top six, we're all good, man.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you so much for coming back this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And last but not least, my man Cameron from Kazzy TV. Thank you so much for coming on this week.
What's up, bro? Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So you got a channel of your own, is that correct?
Yes, I have a channel where I upload NFL videos, on which I'm starting to upload more NBA videos. I'm going to start doing NBA videos as we get closer towards All-Star break and towards the end of the season.
Awesome, man. Glad to hear it. And we're going to be sharing all that content on our Twitter pages, our Instagram pages, and we'll back all your content, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure. Well, let's get right into it, gentlemen. So this season, now that we've gotten about 10, 12 games in, all these players that have signed with new teams or have gotten traded to new teams, like obviously 3/5 of the Bulls starting roster. We got the Lakers trade sending players over to the Wizards, and then we got Kyle Lowry in Miami. I really wanted to kick it over to Kaz first. With these old faces in these new places, who is most impactful to their new team?
I mean, I think it has to be the guy who's top 5 in scoring right now, DeMar DeRozan. Him and Zach LaVine are looking like a great duo right now. And where he has that Bulls team is far better than what we've seen in the past 5 years. He adds a value of scoring that the Bulls need at the guard position. We already know he's a great defender, and he can get into the lane anytime he wants. And that takes pressure off of Zach LaVine because he doesn't have to constantly go up there, put up 25 to 30 shots a night. And some days when he's off, DeRozan can take the workload. So I believe DeRozan and the Bulls are the new face.
Man, they're doing fantastic right now. They're still first in the Eastern Conference, so they're killing it right now. Jeffrey, do you have anything to add to that, or who do you think is most impactful?
Ever since the mistake by the Lake was their own nickname, now LeBron left, the team totally tanked. And it looks like for just about everyone, they're going to be good for ever. But now, all of a sudden, they're 7-4, coming off a 37-point game against New York. He's only 31 years old, bounced around a bit being a Spaniard, played in Spain for a while, kind of got overlooked, forgotten, but now he may be revitalizing his career, and don't look now, but the Lakers, LeBron's new team, 6-5 in 8th place, the Cavs, 7-4 in 5th place. So who's going to get the last laugh here? All right, I know it's very early, but look for Cleveland perhaps to continue their modest streak of success, while they continue to fight to at least make the top 10 and look to regain consistency and success to a now basketball-proud city.
I would have to agree, Jeff. Joe, please wrap this one up. Who do you think is most impactful?
Oh, yeah, I got to agree with Cameron. I got to go DeMar DeRozan and Chicago Bulls. I mean, this is a team that a lot of people weren't sure what to expect from the Bulls team. Him, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, who I think is an underrated signing. I know Caruso fans take their fandom to a whole new level, probably a little bit unnecessary level. You also got to remember Zach LaVine stepped into that role of being a superstar, in my opinion. And then you also got Vucevic as well, too. So I go the Bulls, and I would go with DeMar DeRozan.
Did you happen to hear about how Alex Caruso's free agency went with the Lakers?
Yep.
I can't.
Not too surprised.
Yeah, Rob Pelinka doing another fantastic move. So they didn't want to offer him the money, and he still was like, okay, how about a little less? And he still says no. Cam, would you want to have Caruso on your team no matter the price, or do you think Pelinka made a good move?
To say that I'm a Lakers fan, now I think we're kind of regretting the move, and we've seen how our team is and how the focal point in which we thought Russell Westbrook was going to be, it's not looking like how it's supposed to be. Mind you, we still have a lot of games left in the season, but you never want to start off the season this bad, especially with LeBron James out, and we don't know how long Anthony Davis can do this with literally just Russell Westbrook out here breaking shots up, man. Like, he's shooting below 25% on the behind the three, shooting 26% behind the field goal. Like, he'll get his triple doubles and stuff, but at the end of the day, the Lakers are in a bad spot right now. So Caruso definitely would have helped.
Yeah, you can't have Avery Bradley playing 20 minutes and putting up donuts on all categories. He can't just be running around there and then having people like Kent Bazemore that can't buy a layup. These guys are struggling so difficultly, and Russ is not going to be able to pick up any of the slack on that end of the floor. So with Russ, I feel like he's going to have a better second half of the season, but the Lakers' issues go way deeper than just
sure.
Russ. So he's taking the brunt of it right now, but I think he might be able to turn it around, and we'll get to see some flashes of that MVP Russell Westbrook. So to move on from that, Jeffrey, my man, I'm sorry we have to do this to you, but I have to. We were going to talk a lot of Bucks today, and now we just have to turn it into a segment. And so, is this the bad news Bucks? They're 5-6 currently, and 2-5 in their last 7, with losses to my Wolves, the Knicks, which is not a bad loss because the Knicks have been playing great, and also the Wizards. So, Jeffrey, please enlighten us. Is this a time to hit the panic button for the
Well,
Bucks?
Randall, it's never a good time to hit the panic button because once you panic, the season's going to tank pretty much immediately. The issue with the Bucks, they've had, injury can be a lame excuse, but in this instance, there have been some injuries which are really withholding the Bucks. Brook Lopez, he didn't have the best year last year, but he still, as we've seen when the Knicks destroyed the Bucks in the paint. When he's out, as is with his back issues, that is a big deal for anyone. The Bucks are getting torn apart in the paint. Chris Middleton, a crucial shooter last year and 2 years before that, he's been out with COVID. Probably won't be back to the next homestand. Drew Holiday suffered an ankle injury. He's been hobbled. And Giannis is having to do way too much. But they're still only one game below 500, still seen there in the top 10. This is a tough road trip. Let's say already won one game in this 5-game road trip. Say they win one or two more. Just stay around 500 until December or maybe even January when everyone comes back. As we saw with the Q1 Rockets or the Cleveland or the LeBron James Cavs of the fourth year. If we know you're a good team, it doesn't much matter where you finish. We saw this with the Bucks last year. So I'm not going to panic just yet. But if the losses continue to accumulate, it may not be the yellow brick road back to Oz for the Bucks as the head that it may eventually get to be too much for Giannis if they can't turn it around.
I would have to agree. And also with the loss to the Wizards, no offense, Joe, but man, I did not expect them to have this start. And especially the Bucks to be giving up wins to teams that are up and coming. So, Joe, what is your opinion on that win against the Bucks? And should the Bucks really be worried, or can they stay calm this time?
No, I think if you're Milwaukee, you stay calm. Kind of like Jeff made a good point. You're not getting your full lineup out there. I mean, between injuries and COVID, you haven't got a chance. Once you get your full lineup, you can see what your team brings to the table up against upper echelon competition, your Brooklyns, your Golden States, your Clippers. Then you have a better idea where you're at. And I think because Milwaukee has that championship pedigree, whether they finish 1 through 6 in the East. I don't think they go lower than 6. That'd be like sky is falling if they go lower than 6. Once you get into the dance, it's anybody's game, and they've been there and done that. If they're healthy, they've proven they can get the job done. So if I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan or a player on that team, until we get our full lineup, I'm not panicking at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't panic either. And if you show panic, then, other teams are going to smell blood, and they're going to just have an even bigger target on their back, as well as being the defending champs. So obviously, where there's smoke, there's fire. But I think with Brook Lopez going to be returning, they'll have a better paint presence. But also, he is getting up there in his years in his career, and 7-footers, they don't last super long in the league. So I don't know how much time he has left, or how much, of a playoff run that he can really be a big contributor to. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go from here on out. But I have faith that they'll be able to turn it around as well. But with that Wizards game, I wanted to go into a little bit of the clips. Let's take a look at it. The Wizards opened up a 12-point lead early with this Kuz 3 right here. And then the Bucks were able to get into a back and forth throughout the whole first half. And then the second half is where it got interesting. So Bobby Portis knocks that one down. Giannis getting over the outstretched Harrell. And these guys were getting after it in the second half. So Giannis, whenever he misses those threes and he doesn't get back in transition, they always pay. You can't just give up those easy threes. And obviously he's hitting them better than he ever has, but he still has to make sure he's aware of that. So, Cam, what were some of the takeaways from that game for you, and how do you think the Bucks should react to a loss like that?
Like everyone said, it's really early in the season for the Bucks. They haven't had that 4 lineup. Their confidence is not sky high right now as it was when they won the NBA championship last year. It's going to take time. They need to get everyone back, get the adjustments, get the rotations back in order. Giannis has to play better. We know Giannis can play much better than he has. When Middleton comes back, that's a key piece. He's going to be able to create his own shots. And they're missing their best defender, Drew Holiday. When Holiday is playing, he's allowing all the players around him to play better at a higher level. He's been playing, but he's not back. He's not in basketball shape, and he's not back in his groove. There's no time to panic for the Bucks right now. The Wizards are surprisingly a good team this year, so they shouldn't hang their heads low. And we will see how the Bucks look during the rest of the season, but I believe they're fine right now. They're just taking baby steps, and they'll be fine.
Agreed. And another bad loss. My Timberwolves took a disappointing overtime loss to the Grizzlies. Ja Morant had a fantastic game, and the Wolves were able to just last, and we didn't outlast anything we weren't able to overcome. We burned a timeout late that led us to have terrible inbounds plays. And when I really look back at the whole game, yeah, we had a lead with like 5 minutes left, 4.5 minutes left, I think a 10, 12-point lead. But the Grizzlies, they just play sound basketball. They know their strengths. And the Wolves, frankly, they don't. They're trying to find those strengths, and they started off with defense, and now they're going to have to chip away at each thing that they're going to have to work on next. So they're good at transition. They're good at defense, but when we're not getting stops or we're not draining threes, we have a lot of problems. So it's not a surprise that we crumble to a, talented team like this, a team that has been together for a few seasons now. But Jeffrey, I'm going to kick it over to you. Please give me some hope here. Was there some things that the Wolves did well, or the Grizzlies did bad, or what are your takeaways from this game?
All right. Well, have a horse in the race. Always hope. My experience that aren't really habituated to success. They don't really know how to hold on to the success. What happened in this game is the Timberwolves had a 14-point lead with 5 minutes to go. They got the game won, right? But they don't know how to finish the game. So the Grizzlies, odds players now, been up the organization for a little bit long. They start to dig and dump their way, what are we going to do? So the Wolves, they panic a little, the lead. Very fortunate game in the first place. Ridiculous shot by Cat to bait it. Oh man, I was watching on YouTube, and the announcers for the Grizzlies like, and he baked it in. So that was a good break for the Wolves. That wasn't enough. So they weren't quite able to get the win. Being a Marquette fan, I know a thing or two about having a young team. Year, and it gets to the point where young is in them for. But from what I saw the Wolves come to Milwaukee and play the Bucks. This is a legit team. They got some great young talent. The Cats leading a team that's hungry to win. They're tired of moral victories. The NBA, I can't emphasize, is one of the most competitive sports leagues in the world. It's going to take time, and I know that is not what any fan wants to hear, especially a fan of Timberwolves who's been struggling for so long. But you get there, guys. You just have to have patience. There's Cat's shot right there. Ooh, beauty. I know everyone gets tired of waiting, but the time will come. Trust me.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for those kind words. I'm going to send you to the back just to have you check your connection really quick, my man. But, Mr. Cardoso, so with that Grizzlies game and Ja being able to, find his teammates and hold his team down, is he a lock for most improved player this season?
I mean, if he keeps on continuing to play the way he's playing right now, absolutely. I mean, he's otherworldly. I mean, I tweeted something out the other day, and I could have been a prisoner of the moment, and I was shocked nobody responded back to my tweet. But I said he gives me a lot of Allen Iverson vibes as far as like being undersized, taking the ball to the basket, fearless. I mean, not afraid to take the ball to the basket. Now that he's developing a solid jump shot, the rest of the NBA should be really afraid that this guy's going to be a consistent jumper, because before it was 100 miles an hour, drive to the basket, get injured because he's falling and taking all these hits from these big guys. Now we're hitting pull-up jumpers, we're hitting threes with consistency. And, oh, yeah, by the way, his teammates with him on the Grizzlies have improved as well. A healthy Jaren Jackson, all those guys coming along there, Kyle Anderson, Brooks, who's definitely a super underrated player. I think if he continues on this path he's on right now, not only is he most improved player, he's an all-star.
Yep. I feel like the all-star is no doubt. So do you think if he gets that all-star, it's without a doubt, most improved player? Do they go hand in hand?
Like I said, I think so. What I'm seeing so far. I mean, even the game the other night when they were playing and you thought they were going to lose the game, he put the game on his shoulders, and he takes losses really, really seriously. I mean, he's everything in his game is leveling up. His mental part of the game and the way he plays in the court, you just see it leveling up. Taking responsibility for losses, whether he had to or not, he's putting it out there in the public. Hey, it's on me that we took that L. I'm going to improve. And I like what I'm seeing from him. Like I said, I'm getting major AI vibes from this kid.
And to give some credit to the coaching staff, with Jaren Jackson fouling out in overtime, I was like, oh, man, finally, we can get some rebounds and we can get some extra possessions. But then here comes Brandon Clark, and he gets 2 key offensive rebounds and putbacks that were just essential to them winning that game. And so next man up mentality.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
All the guys that are around Ja are perfectly complementary, and they step up in needed moments. So Kaz, is there some favorite players or some highlighted guys that you think is on that roster that is, most impactful to their success?
Definitely one person that a lot of people have been noticing this year is Desmond Bane. I believe he's become a big help to them. I think he's top 5 in three-point percentage right now in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking clutch shots. He's allowing Ja to create more floor space, allow him to do what he does on the offensive. And then on the defensive end, Desmond Bane is also a good defender. And the Grizzlies' young core, we've seen how they can mature and grow over the years. And we always thought last year was that going into the playoffs, it was all Ja Morant show. Jaren Jackson was hurt, just coming back from an injury. So nobody else was really stepping up. But this year, we're seeing the pieces around them actually contribute into games. So if Ja Morant is just having a bad quarter, you can go to Desmond Bain, you can go to Jaren Jackson, you can go to DeAnthony Melton. Key pieces like those guys will help contribute to the Grizzlies and they push them forward into the playoffs. I think they can go into the playoffs. They're very young, but if you're having Ja Morant playing at almost an MVP level right now, I don't think nobody's going to stop this young core and the way that they play defense and the way that they play together. That's what makes their chemistry so good.
For sure. I would have to agree, Cam. And
Absolutely.
guess what? We didn't even mention Dylan Brooks, man. Today on NBA.com, they reported that he should be back in the lineup pretty soon.
Young
And
Marcus
I don't
Smart,
know,
man. He's a young Marcus Smart to me.
yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but in NBA 2K, the past like 3 seasons, he has been cooking me, man. I can't get around the guy. He's drilling threes in my face. You know, I'm running around these screens. I can't get to him. And this is real life, man. He can give you 25 and lock you up on the other end. So really, when he comes back, what do you think the ceiling is for the Grizzlies, Joe?
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. Man.
Got to put you on the spot at least a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say top 5 in the West. Yeah, I feel confident in that. I mean, you figure, oh man, run down real quick. Golden State, as much people know I don't like Golden State, I can't deny what they're doing. Can't deny it. So I'd go Golden State, Clippers. Yeah, top 5. I feel pretty confident saying Grizzlies are top 5.
For sure.
Throw Phoenix in there. Again, with the Los Angeles Lakers, we won't know until they get healthy and everybody gets in the court. We really can't give the Lakers an honest grade. But I'd say top 5 Memphis right now.
I would have to agree. Jeffrey, do you think Joe Cardoso is right in his assumption that the ceiling for the Grizzlies is 5th seed?
5th seed. Well, yes, because Western Conference, the East has gotten the conference is probably tougher historically. The Grizzlies, who do they really have besides Ja? Some role example of course he had Giannis, but it wasn't until they got Drew Holiday to go along with Giannis and Chris they're really able to contend. And Ja isn't quite the level of a superstar. I'd say Vegas has him and Miles Bridges as far and away the top 2 contenders for most improved player. Most improved is not most valuable player. That's an important distinction.
Yeah.
So I'd say the Grizzlies, I could see them being in the top 6, sure, no problem. Maybe get past the first round. But if they have to play the Warriors the second round, Randall's got the odds right there. So I could see them making some progress, but there's only so far they're going to get right now, and it's not a knock against the Grizzlies at all. It's just the reality of NBA basketball that it's always been top because the top superstars have so much power over who wins and who loses. So I say Ja, most improved player, 100%. Most valuable player, not yet. Until he is and he gets some help, they're not quite going to be ready to compete for the top spot.
Very eloquently stated, Jeffrey. Let us move on. And we are getting to the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. It was a crazy NBA Monday with that Wolves and Grizzlies game. And then we got this ridiculous fight at the end of a game that, to be perfectly frank, the Denver Nuggets controlled that game. So when we go back to look at the game here, really started off with this block. Jokic gets the block. And then look at Morris puts his hands up in the air, thinking that it was a foul, took some exception to that, and then right over to the Joker. Joker slammed him down. And then I don't think Duncan Robinson appreciated that too much, having somebody sit on the back of his neck. So the Heat just leave insulted and injured. So with now Marcus Morris is out tonight or tomorrow with a whiplash in his neck. So here is the slow-mo. His neck did go back quite a little bit, and he was on the ground for a long time. So Jokic did apologize, but Cam, what is your take on the situation, and what's it going to be like these two teams see each other next?
Well, obviously Jokic, you can't do that. You're MVP. You're supposed to be one of the leaders in your team. But also, Morris, you can't do something and expect someone not to retaliate. That's a hard foul. It is a flagrant that Morris did, but Jokic can't retaliate like that. But these teams definitely will have a little, I wouldn't say a little rivalry, but a little like competition going back and forth. And the next time they play each other, things will get a little spicy. I have been checking on social media and seeing that the Jokic brothers have been talking to the Morris brothers, and they're like, oh, yeah, we bought tickets to the next game, so nothing better not happen to my brother or something like that. So I feel like that's pretty funny. But in the end, it's basketball. It gets competitive. Sometimes it gets physical. But like Jokic apologized, got suspended for one game. They got to move on.
Yeah, that was a really sucker move by the Joker. And, obviously you don't want to take hard fouls like that. But like you said, Cam, as an MVP, you got to hold your composure. And once you do hold your composure, you'll be able to get, a better rapport with the refs. So the Jokic brothers, though, I'm afraid of those guys. You ever see a picture of those guys? They are freaky, man. I cannot believe it. So, Jeffrey, I'm going to toss it to you real quick. Jimmy Butler was telling him, take that shit to the back. Bring that to the back. Clapping like the girl with the bag of hot Cheetos and a brisk at 7 a.m. in high school. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Trust me, I've seen it once too many times. So, Jeffrey, is Jimmy really about that action, or are they just trying to puff their chests out?
Well, Randall, it's tough to say because losing to the Heat over and over again. We hear all this stuff about it's maybe not, but you have to at least put on the airs of toughness. If you want anyone to, or do I really want the Jokic brothers to actually come and confront Morris and get in his face? No. But I doubt it's going to come down to that. The NBA, as has been well documented, is getting softer as the decades go by. It's, as we know full well, would have been what's a flagrant foul now would have been a common foul or maybe even a play on in the 80s and 90s. And this play you see in front of your screens, that's a lot of acting by Morris. Come on, man. The Academy Awards are in Los Angeles, not Denver. Yes, halfway across the room because someone pushes you, man. So,
yeah. Jeffrey,
so
I will confirm though that he is out with a whiplash in his neck.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
that's true. I still would say he did. He made it look worse than maybe it really was. But I don't think we want to see a big escalation beyond suspensions and fines already held out. Because this is a long season of 82 games, and we got the playoffs, and these teams are in different conferences, remember, so they'll play one more time, and their odds are they're not going to meet in the finals. Just that's just the odds. So hopefully this just becomes a curiosity you see buried on the 4th or 5th page of your Google page half months go by, because I would hate to see this bad beef run on for years to come, because it's not bad beef in the NBA. We don't need to add Jokic versus Morris to that.
yeah.
So let's just play the dang game.
Greg, I have to give you a round of applause, man. Where was Udonis Haslem? I didn't even see him in any of these clips, and he's supposed to be the enforcer of this team. What's he taking up a roster spot for? Joe, I'm gonna have to toss it to you, my man. So, what's your reaction?
I'm from the DMV, just like Cam is. We have a different kind of basketball up here. We call that a play on. There's been nothing there, nothing to see there. I'm kind of with Jeff. I think Morris exaggerated it big time, but I also think Jokic overreacted. Like you said, he admitted it as well. You're the MVP, the leader of your team. You can't react that way. And I think taking a step further, hey, I understand family protects family and all that good stuff, but if I'm him, maybe I have a competition with my brothers as well. You can't be hopping on social media, going back and forth with people. I can't have videos of you screaming and yelling at players in the court and security of my own team that I play for that writes my checks, having to hold you back and calm you down. And again, I understand it's family. Don't touch my family, but you got to have some restraint, man. You can't be acting wild and crazy like that. And Jokic is not exactly 5'5", 100 pounds. Pretty sure he can take care of himself. Whether
right?
if Morris and Jimmy Butler both came after him, I think he would have figured out a way to handle himself. So I think that was a little bit unnecessary from them as well.
Especially in this NBA soft environment. Remember when Chuck and Shaq were laughing about a police presence at the Houston Clippers game?
Yeah.
Man, those guys were, the Chris Paul took the secret tunnel to the other side of the locker room, and they were gonna go at it. This is not gonna happen. The Mouse of the Palace was the peak, and it's never gonna get there ever again. The league will never let that happen again. It will be extremely bad for the league, and so all this puff your chest stuff is that's all it is. So I think it's hilarious. And Jimmy, yes, I guarantee that he's had to do some things to survive in life because of where he came from. But I think at times you gotta set a better example, especially with just some people shoving each other. It's not that all that serious.
Yeah, not for sure.
So let us move on. Joe, your favorite time of the show. We're going to be talking about our Washington Wizards and their hot start. So they are currently 7-3. Am I right? Or is it 8-3 now?
I believe it's 8-3, I believe.
Yes. All right. They did win another.
Playing the Cavs right now.
Oh, yep. We didn't even mention Ricky Rubio earlier. Man, all right, let's quick touch on the Cavs before we get to the Wizards. Ricky Rubio put up 37 with 8 threes. And I'm like, okay, where was this when we needed you? Every time. It without a doubt, we send somebody somewhere else and they flourish. And it's just they get out of the pressure of Minnesota and
the pressure.
Yeah, right? They try to people saying like, hey, you're the key to our winning franchise. And they're like, oh, what? Are you serious? So then they get to new places and they just flourish. So really, Ricky Rubio is doing a fantastic job with that Cavs team. He's making Evan Mobley look like KG out there. He's hitting mid-range shots, he's hitting threes, and he's being a beast in the paint offensively and defensively. So I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from that team. And I thought they were overloaded at the guard position and the center position, but they're proving that they know who their guys are and who they're going forward with. But over to the Wizards that are playing the Cavaliers right now. Joe, what's your initial takes on the Wizards? Should we not get too excited, or is this actually for real?
I think it's for real. I mean, there's so many new things. I mean, as a guy who's been a Wizards fan for his whole life, we never have been really known for playing good defense or even trying. I see effort on the defensive end. I think the Russell Westbrook trade, so far, we won the trade. I mean, yes, we got rid of Russ, but we got Kyle Kuzma. We got KCP. We were able to bring in Spencer Dinwiddie. We have depth. That's something that Washington fans have never been able to say. We can go small. We can go big. We have shooters. We're not just relying on Bertans to hit threes. We have other guys that can shoot threes. And remember, all this is happening without Rui Hachimura, who is still taking a leave of absence from the team. When Rui comes back, he adds on even more to that depth. And also the rookie out of Gonzaga, Crespit, has no pressure on him. He could slowly integrate himself, learn the NBA game, figure out where he belongs on this team. So there's a lot of things to be excited about with this Washington Wizards team. But for me, the two things that stand out are defensive effort and depth. I haven't even talked about Montrezl Harrell, who has been embraced by everybody here in the DC area.
Monstrous Harrell, man, that dude is a freak.
He had a year off. Lakers didn't give him no run.
I really couldn't even believe it. They had no faith in him, and I think that just killed the whole situation. Just kind of like a Ben Simmons kind of deal. But Cam, let me kick it over to you, man. What are you seeing in the Wizards right now, and what do you think their ceiling is? They're sitting at 3 in the Eastern Conference right now. Do you think they'll stay in that upper tier, or maybe they'll be in a play-in scenario?
I think it's pretty tough right now, but I believe the Wizards might stay in about that 6 to 8 range, maybe close in that 5 range. But as the season gets on, every team will have their struggles, and they will have the long away schedules that players get tired, more rest happens, and teams become giving more energy and attacking the paint more. But the Wizards are good. Kyle Kuzma is playing. He's playing good. He's rebounding the ball. He's being a good defender. He's doing what the Lakers wanted him to do. And we all said Kyle Kuzma was a bad player, but I think he just needed a change of scenery to actually find his role and find what he needs to do and not have the big pressure in LA. The Lakers didn't have trust in Montrezl Harrell last year. So Montrezl came to this year feeling like he had something to prove and everyone was doubting him. So he's been on a hot streak. And Spencer Dinwiddie, we all know he could play. He didn't want to stay in Brooklyn and stay behind guys like Kyrie, Kevin Durant, or James Harden. He wanted to go to a new team where he could show people that he could actually be a point guard of a good contender and a good playoff team and lead them. So I think the Wizards have a good team, but it's going to take time over the year. They're going to go through the struggles, but I don't believe this is the final product we've seen. I think this team can improve in more ways.
Absolutely.
I think so too. And the Grizzlies, like we mentioned earlier, have been giving everybody a run for their money. They've been they've been playing good games against the Warriors. We had that great overtime win against the Wolves, and they've been showing that they're a real team. And the Wizards came out and beat them by almost 20. Jeffrey, is that a statement win for the Wizards? And does that really show that what they're doing is for real? Or was that a fluke loss by the Grizzlies, do you think?
Well, when the Wizards beat the Grizzlies by 20?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I don't know if beating the Grizzlies is enough of a statement game. The statement game, I would say, is beating the Bucks. Now, as we've covered before, the Bucks are at full strength right now, but you got to beat the best to be the best, right? So I see the Wizards knocking off the Bucks home, and the Bucks had leading that game. So the Wizards were down in the third quarter, and the Wizards came battling back to win. I think that was a very, very, very impressive. Now, going back to what Cameron and Joe were talking about, the Wizards going to finish, I don't know if they're going to be in the top six, because Brooklyn and Milwaukee are still behind them at this point, and I think those two teams are going to rise above and surpass the Wizards. But this is a team that was very smart about the Russell Westbrook trade. Instead of draft picks, they got some players to contribute right now, and they're contributing very well. The Wizards team, I could definitely see them being a contender in the East if they continue to develop young talent, maybe swing the trade, hit big in the draft again. Next thing you know, Wizards could be back where they nearly were a couple years ago, and that's right back in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, they were battling with the Celtics for many seasons, and now the Celtics are trending towards the bottom, and the Wizards are, and I don't know how, just because of this Russell Westbrook trade, like you mentioned, but their trajectory has been all over the place, as we know, and they're finally on the way back up. So
we love to see it.
I'm really happy, and now, because I love to see teams get it out the mud, and now they're looking at their schedule coming up right now. Cavs, next, Magic, Pelicans, Hornets, and then you get a real challenge with 2 games in 3 days with the Miami Heat. I cannot wait for those 2 games. It's really going to show what they're going to be able to do against a sound defense, and we know Miami's going to plan for that like a 2-game series. So, Joe, when we talk about those games, we'll talk about them next week. We'll preview them. But how do you think the Wizards will hold up against the Heat on the 18th and the 20th of this month?
I think it's a good litmus test. I mean, that's a team that plays really in-your-face defense, and that's why I talked about one of the improvements the Wizards have had is their defense. Are you going to be able to match the intensity of Miami on that end of the floor? And then it's also going to test their depth. And, I mean, you kind of shortchange Charlotte. Don't shortchange the Charlotte Hornets either. I mean, with Ball, with Bridges, that's a pretty good squad they got there in Charlotte. Didn't even think about Haywood. That's a pretty good team they have. That's not going to be a walk in the park for the Washington Wizards as well. But I think the Miami test will really get to see, because Miami's pretty healthy. We'll see where they're at in the Eastern Conference. Because, I mean, to Jeffrey's point, I do not think that the Washington Wizards are going to finish top 3 in the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done. But what I'm seeing on the court right now and what can still be added on with playing time, adding Rui Hachimura, I think 6 is a minimum I'm expecting from this team. You got to be at least 6 in the East. You're not going to finish above Milwaukee. You're not going to finish above Brooklyn.
Nope. And with teams that are in it right now, obviously, Cavs probably going to fall out of there. 76ers, we don't know what they're going to be like for a while. Knicks, they'll stay trending towards the top, and then you got teams like the Raptors, the Hornets, the Celtics, and all those teams. And then the Hawks are actually sitting at 4-8 right now after such a hot ending to their season. So we'll have to get to them next week and see what they're up to. But currently, Washington Wizards are looking fantastic, and they're going to be looking fantastic for at least another week here. So let us move on to our previews for this weekend. We got two games, one on Thursday and one on Saturday, I believe. We got Bucks, Celtics, and Heat versus Jazz. So, reason why I selected Bucks versus Celtics is because they've both been struggling a lot. Obviously, the Celtics were just playing against the Dallas Mavericks the other night and had to endure this painful game winner. Luca, I can't even believe Josh Richardson just let him dribble up and get comfortable. He's able to get that separation with a little bit of forearm, just a little bit of forearm, but he's also sitting right in front of the ref, so I don't think the ref was able to catch that. Look at that forearm. And then knows it's going in, not even yelling, just game time, running all over the court. So, what's your initial reaction to that, Cam? And with the Celtics, are the Celtics going to be able to turn it around? Are they going to be able to take over a Bucks team that has also been struggling, or do you think the Bucks will be able to reset their tracks with the Celtics win?
Um, my reaction to that is, well, that was a great shot by Luca. The Celtics could have played better defense, but at the end of the day, you got to give your hats off to Luca on a great shot. That's what he does: create space and takes the miraculous shots that nobody else takes. But I think the Celtics are struggling right now because they're trying to find their team identity. They're trying to find who do they want to give the ball to in late games. Is it Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown? And Tatum and Brown didn't play last year. So Tatum was mostly carrying the Celtics team, carrying a load, taking about 30 to 30, 25 to 30 shots a game. Tatum was taking that. And now you add Brown back. So now Tatum usage is going down. Jaylen Brown usage has to go up. Tatum and Brown are also great defenders. But on the other hand, Marcus Smart is not shooting his best as he was last year. They're not having the guard play that they need. Robert Williams is good, but the team bench and the team is just not adding offensive value to help Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I feel like this team will continue to struggle. And I think by the trade deadline, we might see some people with some trades get into Boston and help them utilize Tatum and Brown so that teams are not just focusing on, oh, we're going to double Tatum and we're going to make sure we're going to force Jaylen Brown to drive and kick it out and let somebody else beat us because we know they can't shoot consistently throughout the game.
If I'm looking for an improvement to my team, and obviously we are lacking a paint presence in Boston, but for any team that's lacking a paint presence, I would be calling the Pelicans about Jonas Valanciunas nonstop because they are wasting him down there. Obviously, they have a good young core, but he's way older than these guys. Get him out of there, get some more pieces, and get some more draft capital, and send him to a real contender to where he can be a fantastic role player. So I think he would be a good fit in Boston, Brooklyn. I feel like teams should be ringing the Pelicans right now. Joe, of these two games, the Bucks, or let's just stick with the Bucks and Celtics actually. Um, will the Bucks be able to, get a win over the Celtics, or will the Celtics stun the Bucks, do you think?
I think it's more critical for Boston to get a win because the team just seems to be in turmoil. And what I mean by that is who's the lead dog? Is the alpha Jaylen Brown? Is the alpha Jason Tatum? And Tatum's been struggling with the shot. I know the big thing I kept on hearing during the offseason was he did all this weight training and had all this weight. So I guess I'm assuming the reason why is so when he drives to the basket, absorb the contact, finish some of those shots, not be so banged up. Very, very, very early in the season, but so far hasn't worked out for him so far. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I think Milwaukee's fine. I think you'd have to wait until you get your core lineup together, get a couple of games together under your belt. But I think for the confidence booster, you had the Marcus Smart comments about these guys have to pass the ball. What are we, 6 games into the season? We're having players-only meetings already. I think for Boston, it's really critical to get this win, to get wins, to stack up some wins.
yet their continuity is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
And they've we mentioned before with the Wizards, they were right there with the Wizards, with Isaiah Thomas and a young Marcus Smart and Al Horford, and now their trajectory is all off too. So Jeffrey, what is really how would you handle this Boston Celtics situation going forward? I know you touched on this last week, but in terms of how you want the team to operate, what do you think is optimal for them?
Well, the Celtics they're in a really tricky situation because it looks like they were set up for many years' success with a disastrous trade from the Nets point of view, while getting all those draft picks to Boston. But the Celtics didn't really use those draft picks well enough. A short window of opportunity when they played Game 7 at home in Boston and blew it. That was probably their best chance. Now they've made the playoff. They haven't really gone anywhere. Brad Stevens now moving to an advisory role. This roster needs a major reevaluation, and that does not happen easily or quickly. Look at San Antonio. Boy, oh boy, I remember back in the 2000s when Popovich had win championship after championship. Now they may not even be in the top 10. So the Celtics, blowing it up and getting rid of all their good pieces, that probably wouldn't really help. But at the same time, they really need to go back to the drawing board, to use a familiar cliche. They need to face that big chalkboard I'm sure they have in their locker room and figure out, boy, what is it we need to do to get that big graphic, that one big trade? They need some serious help. That there just is no quick fix when you've blown it as big as the Celtics have blown it.
Agreed.
I was saying Anthony Davis, they were trying to go in for Anthony Davis, right? The Boston Celtics, but they didn't go on all in on that. And then they also didn't pay Isaiah Thomas. They've been hesitant to make these big moves, right? And they're just waiting for it to fall into their lap. And now with Ainge out and um Stevens in, uh I've never thought of Stevens as a real, head of the helm guy. Obviously, he's a very smart basketball mind, but I feel like that's his place is on the court. And if he wanted to, put this roster together, I feel like he would have been able to do that on the court as well. So is he really being effective in this new role, Joe, do you think?
I think it's too early to tell, but I mean, I think that what Boston has right now is when you have two potential superstars who are so young, and Brown and Tatum, you've got to figure it out. I mean, I hate to say it, but you're giving off some very familiar OKC Thunder, Westbrook Harden, Durant vibes in terms of having two great talents not being able to figure out how to make it work and end up potentially losing one of them. You don't want to see that happen.
And think about how Harden, Westbrook, and KD have shook up the league over these years. And I feel the same type of seismic activity would happen if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were to be put on the block. I don't think it would ever happen, but it's looking more probable than ever right now. And we'll see if they're going to be able to turn it around. But let's wrap this up with a preview of the Heat versus the Jazz. So the Heat are currently sitting at first in the Eastern Conference, tied for 7-3 with the Wizards and the Bulls, and they'll be going up against the Jazz, who is sitting at second in the Western Conference at 8-3, and I believe they're on a 3-game losing streak. So, please, Jeffrey, what do you see coming out of this game with two defensive juggernauts in the Heat and Jazz?
Boy, Randall, this is just such a great matchup with Chris Collins was over enthusiastic. But the Jazz may be a defensive juggernaut, but they can shoot 42 3 attempts. New age reduce that is just a ton of a shots, 111. This game as an old school versus the new school, the Jazz they've done it. I know they haven't had the most success in the playoffs, but they've shaping their roster and their attack strategy and the new 3-point NBA attack. The Heat, we're talking about the kind of a more old school tough and rugged, beat them up maybe too strong of a word, but physical, rugged, a team that's going to try to get in your head mentally. And they did a very good job of that against in the bubble in such a difficult situation for everyone. So we'll see. This is kind of a small litmus test of whether the Jazz era of emphasis we talked about last week, or whether the more old-fashioned Heat are going to lay down the law and say, you know what, guys, that old school knock 'em dead NBA thug life house, it's not quite gone yet.
Cam, over to you. So I want to know, in the Heat's efforts to stop the Utah Jazz, do you try to take away, you know, the dribble handoff action with Rudy Gobert? Do you try to just focus on Spider Mitchell? Do you try to, how would you really go about trying to stop the Utah Jazz?
I think the best way to, you can't really stop them, but the best way to slow them down is to kind of send bodies at Mitchell. Maybe like send a guy at Mitchell, force him to take more difficult shots. Don't let him get to his spots. You know, the top of the key is his favorite spot. When he goes behind that screen, you cannot leave him behind that screen. Force Rudy Gobert to beat you. Force Rudy Gobert to beat you. That's going to be the key. Because if Rudy can do that constantly, then you just have to hats off to Rudy. He's a good player. And let different guys like Clarkson and Ingles and all those different types of guys takes the shots. If you can limit Mitchell's shots to under 20, maybe have him 15 shots and force him to be able to go to the rack, then you can slow that Jazz team down.
I done did it again. Jordan Clarkson is doing a fantastic job this season, and people haven't been able to stop him at all three levels of scoring. He can finish at the rim. He's also very well versed in knowing where his other players are at, and he knows where his teammates are, so that he's able to always look to score and then have a teammate open right next to him. So, with Cam mentioning trying to stop Rudy Gobert, are we going to be able to stop Jordan Clarkson, Joe, or is Jordan Clarkson going to be able to just get after this Heat second unit?
I think that Jordan Clarkson's going to have to play on both sides of the ball, because you got to remember that the Heat got their own juggernaut and a guy by the name of Tyler Hero coming off the bench as well. So I think that those two guys going back and forth is going to be a great battle to see who ends up being the top dog as far as score off the bench. But I think this is a game that Miami Heat should win, personally. I think that you force Spider Mitchell to pass the ball, have the others, quote unquote, as Shaq likes to say, beat you. I think the Miami Heat have what it takes to win this ball game. But I think Jordan Clarkson, he'll get his points, but like I said, he's going to have his hands full on the other side of the ball as well.
Yep.
I'm excited about that matchup, the matchup of the six men.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic game. And Hero has been putting in 22 points per game, and Jordan Clarkson, I feel like he could repeat as sixth man of the year. Tyler Hero says he wants it, and like you said, Joe, they're going to be going at it. Their faces should be on the thumbnail for the game. So I think we're just going to wrap it up. I feel like we touched on all of our topics for today. We previewed some games, we reacted to some games, and we had some great takes and some fun times. So thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to go around and start with Jeffrey. Jeffrey, please tell the people what you are up to these days and what could we be looking forward to.
Hey, so first of all, you find me on Twitter at Jeffrey Newholm. I mainly cover women's basketball and college women's basketball and WNBA, so be on the lookout because that's starting up again. Follow all these fine gentlemen on Twitter. Most importantly, be sure to follow our main account at Nuts and Bolts ST on Twitter. We got great news, meme, video clips, everything the humble average Joe, or for you, dear listener, avid Joe fan could want. So be sure to find us on Twitter. I'll be here to give you all your WNBA and college women's basketball stuff. And have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here, Jeffrey, and we will be having you back as soon as possible.
Thanks, Randall.
Mr. Cardoza, please, what is going on in Nuts and Bolt Sports, and what could we be looking forward to in the media platform?
Wow, thanks for having me, man. It's my first time being a guest on the podcast, I think, in like 2 or 3 months. So it was fun being a guest and not being the host. So I appreciate the invite. A lot's going on, man. We never stop. You know how it is. NBA, college basketball just ramping up. Super excited to have Cam on the team now. He's been with us for like, I want to say 3 or 4 days. So a lot of exciting things coming his way, coming from him in terms of social media, articles. So I mean, it's nonstop. Sports doesn't stop, and neither do we. So we have a lot of podcasts coming out. I feel like every day 5 or 6 articles are dropping, if not more. It's almost hard to keep up, which is a good thing. So I'm just excited for the movement we're having, and our main goal is to end 2021 strong.
And like a good businessman once said, businesses that are trending towards the upper right hand corner tend to keep going towards the upper right hand corner. And I feel that
Indeed.
you are setting a great precedent from the head down. And I think we're starting something special here. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having all of us. And I appreciate you for being here today, Joe.
Absolutely, man. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
And last but not least, Cam, I wanted to do you last because you are new here to Nuts and Bolts Sports. So please, I want you to give everybody a little breakdown of what brought you to loving sports and what do you love about reporting sports.
Well, I played football and baseball in high school, and through my first 2 years, I went to a small school called Crown College in Minnesota to play baseball there.
Yes,
So
sir.
I wanted to. I had dreams of playing professional baseball overseas, but as I got through my second year, I was like, you know what? I want to be a sports broadcaster. That's always been my goal. So I went to Full Sail and did just finish up in June, graduated there. So
Congratulations,
now,
man. That's where I'm
thank
at
you.
too.
So now I'm just in the process of talking to different types of jobs, trying to find me an anchor, sports anchor job somewhere with a news station or some type of company. So I decided that I just started this new sports YouTube channel up. I've always been talking about sports on Twitter and Instagram. So just started to raise my channel up and talk about football. So I wanted to join a podcast and join a family in which I can like showcase my skills on the air, on the articles. And I think this would be a very good opportunity for me to get my content out there and get you guys content out there too.
For sure, man. And you're definitely in the right place. Thank you so much for being here. And I think we're going to be making some great content coming up. So let's make some videos together. Let's get to work. And from me, just going to be seeing some Wolves articles coming out from me and weekly NBA Association podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, you guys. And we are out.